All right, so we got the announcement that Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr. is happening. It's going to happen at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's the Ring Magazine's first official show. It's going to be the first one in the UK in April, and subsequently, and I would imagine probably early May, they're going to have their first one in the US. So Ring Magazine definitely, getting the cards out. They're doing them in the UK, they're doing them in the US, and then Riyadh season, the main shows, they'll still be in Saudi Arabia. I think that's kind of the gist of it. Then they announced the fight, they announced the undercard, and yeah, it's not a bad undercard. Really not. Some good competitive domestic dust up there. Some really intriguing fights now, I'm not going to lie. There's really intriguing fights. There's one fight there that and it seems the majority of people in boxing just don't care for, nor do we want to see it. And it's another one of these fights that just makes you, as an onlooker, so frustrated with this particular fighter, and that of course is Anthony Yarde versus Lyndon Arthur. Now I want to be frank, Lyndon Arthur to me seems like a stand-up guy. He definitely showed a lot of ability at domestic level. Good jab, good solid boxer. He beat Anthony Yarde the first time the Commonwealth title was on the line, as far as I believe, or maybe it was, but I know he beat him in late 2020 behind closed doors, and subsequently he went on to rematch Anthony Yarde a year later and was dealt with pretty devastatingly in, I think it was 4 rounds. Okay, so Lyndon Arthur progressed with his career. He didn't quite look as good after that. He had a couple of decisions where he really went life and death. I think it was an Argentinian fighter where he was really struggling. He pulled a knockout out of the bag in the 10th round. And then, of course, he lost to Dimitri Bivol. I can't remember, I think he had another tough enough fight, maybe after Bivol or just before. But either way, he's been working hard for those wins and those fights, let's put it like that. Now you contrast that to Anthony Yarde, who after the loss to Lyndon Arthur, I think I myself at the time I was saying, well, maybe this is a good thing. Because Yarde at the time was about 29, thereabouts. And for me it was the chance that he needed so he could change his team up, look at what was maybe broken, look very closely, and fix that. And I speculate maybe there's new trainers. He didn't change trainers. He literally, I think he added, I forget who he added, but he added someone else. But essentially the team was the same. And he goes in there, he beats Lyndon Arthur in the rematch, and then he goes on, or did he? What did he do in 22? Actually, now that I think about it, because that was 21. I don't recall him doing a great deal in the year 2022. But I do know that he went and he fought Artur Beterbiev 2 years ago now. 2 years ago. I think it was the end of January 2023. I was actually there in London that weekend. I was actually at the press conference and the weigh-in. And he gave a good account of himself, don't get me wrong, against Artur Beterbiev. Did better than Callum Smith did. You can't really argue with that, although they were both stopped. Yarde had more success. So, you can see the talent is there with him. There definitely is talent there with Anthony Yarde, no doubt. He then proceeds to do absolutely nothing from then on in. He doesn't fight again until September of 23, and he made his comeback on the undercard. Now, he was meant to fight, I think it was Ricky Summers. Didn't happen. The opponent was literally there the day of the weigh-in, so it was literally a one-day job. Now, I'm not going to begrudge him that. It's your first fight back after a devastating loss, fair enough, right? He subsequently then fights on the Copper Box show again, February of last year, on the Liam Williams and the Shearers undercard. And he fights a guy, I think he was Eastern European, I know that, I'm not sure what country he was from. But he had on paper, a decent record, but he couldn't really do anything. And you're like, okay, you're going to speed things up. And then we hear that he's now a free agent from Frank Warren. Bear in mind, Frank Warren is the guy who took Anthony Yarde with 10 amateur fights, promoted him, put him headlining some of these shows, got him 2 world title fights when he hadn't deserved them, he hadn't even earned them. In fact, he got him a mandatory, I think both of them might have been mandatory. He got mandatory cracked without having to fight a final eliminator or having to earn it at all. So your promoter, what's he done for you? He's done quite a bit. And he even got you the second fight in your hometown. Granted, he's actually from Ilford, isn't he? Or Hackney, one or the other. But he's from East London. Wembley is northwest London. Nevertheless, you still got it in his home city of London. And now your promoter has signed a deal to be the main guy with Riyadh, the big ones, the big money, everything. The stable is growing. You've got good light heavyweights in there. You could potentially do a crossover fight. Well, not crossover, but you can do a fight where you're fighting Joshua Buatsi, maybe on pay-per-view in the UK, maybe on a Riyadh show, and you go and you leave him for no one. Your next fight after that Copper Box show, is it in a stadium? Is it in a big arena? Is it in Riyadh? No, it's back to the Copper Box. Still, not even main event. And you're fighting on Adam Azim's undercard, and you're fighting an unknown fighter again from East Europe, and you nearly lose. And yet you're still, or your team are still trying to push this, narrative that, Anthony is still, he's this and he's world level. But well, he's not proved it yet. Every time he steps up to world level, he's looked good, but he's lost. And he lost to an over-the-hill Sergei Kovalev, right? Made horrific errors in that fight. Told by his corner to do them, by the way, so obviously he needs to look at what's going on there. Lost to Lyndon Arthur when his corner man didn't even realise that Lyndon Arthur had a problem with his right hand, or certainly wasn't throwing the right hand. It was only when commentary picked up on it, it was fed back to him. Alright, and then the next time around, when he actually does stuff, he actually wins, shock horror. And then he goes in there again at world level against Beterbiev and loses. Alright, where's the comeback? Where's the comeback been? It's been nothing. You've done literally nothing. And now you're trying to sell us this whole Lyndon Arthur trilogy fight, as if anyone wanted to see Lyndon Arthur trilogy. What we want to see is Anthony Yarde actually progress in his career, not reuse this. This is what, nearly 4 years old now. This has been and done. This is 2020, 2021 stuff. We don't care about this. That's in the past. What in God's name? And it's not like Lyndon Arthur has improved leaps and bounds. He's done more with his career. Following on from that loss to Anthony Yarde, as you could argue, they both lost world title fights, but at least he's actually tried to, stay active and fight guys. This is a joke for Anthony Yarde. This is so poor on his team and his team's behalf. And everything about Yarde's career the last couple of years has just been a complete joke. And when you look at someone and you look at the team, you're thinking, honestly, how incompetent can you be with all this? And all that's going to happen with Anthony Yarde, he'll look to fight the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol, even though he won't be mandatory, because Joshua Buatsi, should he be, or Callum Smith, whoever wins that fight will be mandatory. And then he'll have to wait his turn, and by then he'll be even later in his mid-30s. He'll have regressed even more because he's past the point of gaining any skills or any new skills. That's long gone. What's he going to gain under Tunde? If Tunde was such a good coach, if Tunde is the mastermind that he claims to be, his gym is in London. It's in Cannon Town. A lot of fighters based in London. A lot of trainers are based in London. You see a fighter go from this trainer to this trainer. No one's queuing up for Tunde Ajayi. Why is that? So now we're getting, as I said, Lyndon Arthur, Anthony Yarde 3, and it's a joke. And the reason why I get so animated when I talk about Anthony Yarde is that I've watched Anthony Yarde, God, for a long time, nearly 10 years. I remember him when he fought on Canelo Alvarez versus Liam Smith in an empty stadium in Houston, Texas. I think that's where the AT&T stadium is. And even then you could see it. You could see that talent, and you just thought, oh my God, this guy is going to be something good. Where he is going to be something that we can all be proud of. He is going to be brilliant. And I hate seeing talent like that not get properly nurtured, not get developed properly, even though you have a promoter in Frank Warren who's great at bringing talent along. And I suspect that Frank Warren hated having to do that with Anthony Yarde, bring him on that kind of way of just cream puff after cream puff, because Frank is the sort of person where he will just put you in at the deep end, and if you sink, okay, you sank, but we'll go again. He's a very good matchmaker, Frank, very good. And very good eye for talent, Frank Warren, extremely good. And we've seen that. We see it with his stable now. Brilliant eye for talent Frank Warren has. And you see this guy, and he's he's literally still being treated like a prospect, and he's what, 33, 34? He's got what, maybe 2-3 years left in the sport, if even. And it just, for me, Anthony Yarde is someone who, his team don't have his best interest. They have their own best interests. They're not about him achieving what he can achieve in terms of boxing. They're all about, how can we just squeeze as much money out of him? It's the Deontay Wilder effect, if you think about it, because Wilder was someone where his team even now are still trying to squeeze those last few dimes out of him. And because when you think about Yarde'S, who the hell is he training? Who wants to work with him? And likewise with Tunde Ajayi, who the hell is he training? Who the hell wants to work with him? This is his only kind of, bread and butter job. So he is going to try and absolutely squeeze every little bit of it, with minimum risk by the looks of things. Lyndon Arthur, as far as I'm concerned, is not a risk at this point in Anthony Yarde's career. He's going to fight him on the Ring Magazine show. I don't know if they're going to pay him as much as they would for Riyadh's season, but here we are. So yeah, a bit of a rant one on here, but it's just frustrating to me to see a fighter as talented as I think Anthony Yarde is, and he is talented. I think he is talented. He's a very talented fighter. He's precocious talent, and just not achieving what he can achieve. It's just so frustrating. And Yarde has to shoulder some of it because he's a grown man. He's a big boy. You know, he can decide. He should be able to look at the situation, read the room, and say, "I'm not getting any better. I'm fighting." Listen, I understand that you're going to feed someone with an inexperienced in the pro game who didn't have many amateurs. You're going to feed him cream puffs early on. That's fine. People, he turned pro a decade ago, and he's still feasting on cab drivers. It's just not good enough. And surely he can't be happy with that. Surely not. But there you go. There you go. Let me know your thoughts on Anthony Yarde, Lyndon Arthur 3, and Anthony Yarde's career as a whole. Hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button, all that good stuff. And until next time, people, peace.